We're going to do some videos showing some of the bigger, more important features of the Mastermind PBC 3.0 firmware. The first and the biggest is a whole rearrangement of how audio settings are handled. You'll see that up here there's a whole new tab called Audio. And if you look at it, the old parameters are up here, tuner frequency, and some click stopper parameters. But now we've got this whole audio features section down here. And what this lets you do is set default settings for every loop and buffer, output, all those parameters. You'll see we've got the loops, whether they're on or off, whether they're series or parallel in the case of loops 7 through 10, and whether the parallel loops allow trails. And you can click on any of these and turn them on and off, change from series to parallel, etc. Each one of these has a padlock next to it, and we'll get to that in a second. But you can see it's by default. All the loops are off, and buffers are on. The main input, or the mute as it's called on the PBC itself, is on. The dry signal to the mixer is on, and both outputs are on. And so this is the standard that it's been since the PBC was released. What's different here is that with a click of a button you can change all of your presets, and so you can say, well, I want buffer 1 to be off all the time. Okay, so now globally buffer 1 is off. So these are the global settings, and now you can go in and change them from preset to preset. The good news is that that works the same as it always has, and as a matter of fact you can completely ignore these global settings and keep using the PBC the way you did. The hold to store on the PBC works the same, and you can go into the presets tab here, and you can see, in addition to the buttons, there's now an audio tab with similar settings. But as I was saying, you can go to page 2 in the buttons here and still select a preset and turn on loops like you did in previous releases. The difference is you can go to the audio tab here and see it in a different format. You can see you'll have this little arrow here, and that means when it's on, it means that the parameter is being overridden for this preset. So if you look at preset 1 here, there are no overrides, and what we see are the global settings. All the loops are off, the buffers are on, etc. Where we went over here to preset 3 and turned on these loops here, what it did is it turned on the override and it set the loops to be on. You can do this on either page. I can go in here also and say, well, on loop 5 I want to have loop 1 on. You need to click here first to turn on the override, and then override it to on. And so that's how you override a global setting for a loop. You just go ahead and just turn it on. Same goes for the series and parallel setting. You can override this, turn the loop on, override this, and set the loop to parallel for this one preset. Likewise for the buffers, you can go in, let's go to a different preset here, which is still in the defaults. And the old way, you could go to page 3 here, find, say, like the buffer 1 button and turn it off. If you look over here on the audio, the override is turned on and the buffer is set to off. And so why do we have all this? So the whole idea is that, sometimes you want to just be able to control things quickly and globally. Certain things like the series and the parallel settings for a loop, for example, is something that may never change. You may just want it to always be series or always parallel, and then maybe occasionally you may have an exception. Say, for example, the buffers. Generally, we recommend you keep them on. Sometimes, though, you have, say, like a fuzz pedal, and those don't necessarily like to have buffers in front of them. So globally, the buffer is on most of the time, but in a particular preset, like we have with preset 7, we've gone in and overridden it and set it to off. And so now for preset 7, the buffer is off because presumably, say, like your fuzz pedal's in loop 2, and so now we've got a buffer off and a loop on. And so these overrides stick around no matter what you do in the global page. as far as, say, for example, I say buffer 1, we're going to turn it off globally. So now we go to the presets, and if you look at all these, they're all, the buffer is off in all of them. Even the one where we said it was an override, it's overriding it, but still setting it to off, so it kind of doesn't have any effect here. But that override sticks around. So let's say, for example, you ditch your fuzz pedal, you're not using it anymore, and you want to just clear out any overrides for the buffer. You just want the buffer on all the time, and you would set up some presets that turn the buffer off. So what we want to do here is click this to turn it back on again, and if you hold the shift key and click this, it'll ask if you want to clear all the overrides for the buffer on-off setting, and you say yes, and now we clear it. And so now if we go over here, you can see now the buffer is on, and that override we used to have here to turn off buffer 1 has cleared. And you can do that for any of the parameters on the global page. By shift-clicking one of these, it'll ask you if you want to clear the overrides. So the last part of this feature is the global lock. And what this does is it sets the state of a loop or a buffer or whatever across all your presets regardless of overrides. It doesn't clear the overrides, but it will, I guess, override the overrides and temporarily, or as long as you have the lock turned on. Let's say, for example, loop 1 is a boost pedal, and what we'll even do here is go in, and on a few of these presets we're going to turn it on. So let's say in preset 1 we have this boost pedal on, preset 5 it's already turned on, and so say 1, 5, and 9. So now these ones all have been overridden from the default off. So now boost pedal is going to turn on in presets 1, 5, and 9. And that's how you normally use it. Now, let's say you're using a different amp than you normally do, and you feel that the amp needs an extra push compared to the amp that you're used to. So you want this pedal to be on all the time. But what you don't want to do is you don't want to clear these overrides, because when you go back to your normal amp, you want it only to turn on for presets 1, 5, and 9. You could, clear all this out and, and reset it so that the pedal is always on, but it's a lot more convenient to just say, I want it on always, but only until I'm done with this performance, then I want to set it back to the way it was. So what we're going to do is use the lock setting here, and what we're going to do is turn the default setting on, and again, this only affects presets that you haven't already overridden, but now we're going to turn the little padlock icon on, and so now every preset is going to have loop 1 on, and if we go through here, we can confirm that, and now it's on, and it won't even let you override it anymore. And if you even go into this page over here, see loop 1 is on, and if you go and click on it, it's not going to do anything. It is stuck on, and it's going to stay stuck on until you turn off this padlock here. And so that's how the audio features have changed. If you have questions, please contact us at support@rjmmusic.com or get on our forum, rjmmusic.com/forum. Thanks, and we'll have some more details about PBC 3.0 in the upcoming days.